So, tanky levels, this is probably the hardest thing and the most frequently asked question that I get in Soulking, especially in global channels or people just reaching out to me in online chat. They really want to know, how do I pass this one adventure level? It seems to be by far the hardest thing for people to figure out. So in this video we're going to be dissecting that and helping you develop a team that will help you overcome those challenges. The general mindset on most players is they're going to pick a few heroes to invest in, and then they're going to blindly invest in those same heroes until somebody or something tells them otherwise. Or maybe they play for 30 days, they finally get that 4-star Soulking selector, they get a Sieg, and they think, hey, this is going to solve all my problems, and I'm going to be able to get past the quote-quote hard levels. Well, this isn't true. This is a wrong mindset to have when playing this game. The truth is, there's a lot of characters that aren't Soulkings at all that are extremely valuable. The number one thing that people seem to lack is a proper team composition. They don't understand what they need and why they need it. They just figure, hey, I'm going to throw some of the best gear on, and I'm going to limit break that character, and it's just going to get better and better to the point where I can clear Legendary 10-10, 3-star it, no problem. Well, this isn't true either. The number one role that people typically do not have in their teams when they're trying to do this is a debuffer, or something that curses. But fortunately, there are a lot of options to get a debuffer on your team cheaply. When you're first starting out the game, you want one. What character would you want that is cheap and effective? Well, Giant Bat is a quick one. This one you don't even actually farm, you just randomly buy for gold. And with your daily draws, chances are pretty good you're going to get these thrown at you, and you just throw them in the garbage, right? Well, they're actually not that bad. I've seen Giant Bats used in PvP at extremely high levels on Platinum Siege War. So this is honestly not that bad of a character. He can be a decent low-level option. He has a AoE silence. He also has something that reduces defense. Reducing defense is what you want in a debuffer, either a basic stats or a defense reduction. So this is a cheap one, especially for brand new players that they can go ahead and start to develop over a long period of time. Another decent farmable option is Helios. Helios has a very nice suppress, however it's on extremely high cooldown and not really practical for killing more than one target. This is a good pick that you're going to want eventually, so go ahead and farm one up, especially for guild boss later. But this is also one you could actually use to help on those levels where you're having trouble mulching through just one tank, and you want to keep that tank from doing something really annoying to you. Dullahan is one of the best tanks in the game, however he is a legendary base and extremely hard to farm and extremely hard to get skill ups. So what you can do to get around this is use a Dullahan mercenary. This is one of the free ones that you get every, I believe it's 30 minutes. You can go in and you can go back and forth on your level until you get a Dullahan mercenary ready for you to sub into your team. He's really nice because of his Blood Pact skill. Now keep in mind that all skills on mercenaries are not awakened at all, so you're only getting a small taste of what the skill can be. But it is maxed as far as the amount of percentage steal it will do. More than likely, when you're watching this video, you don't have any of these picks, and a Dullahan mercenary can help you just power through that one hard tanky level. Try to spam Blood Pact as much as you can, especially on the harder areas where you have a tank you just cannot kill before it enrages. His other skill, the Destroyer's Blow, is also very good at killing tanks, especially when they're below 50%. This is a great pick, he's a great sub into your team, however farming him would take a very long time for him to become extremely effective, and I don't recommend you do that unless you have absolutely nothing else to farm. Piett is by far the best healer in the game right now. She just has an amazing kit. She was my first spotlight, and honestly she's probably my favorite champion that I've invested in maxing out completely. She's very, very good in PvP, but she's also amazing in helping you get through those tanky levels. Chances are good if you have a high level friend like me, then, you know, friend me up, send me a message or whatever, or somebody that does have a high level Piett. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail why Doll's Curse is great. I have a whole spotlight for that. Just understand that Doll's Curse is great paired with another strong AoE effect to basically clear the wave or make everything die a lot quicker. A low level pick is also Hund. Hund is basically almost a blue version of Helios and basically can be the same thing. He is inferior in a lot of ways, but he's also got a quick option for you. But as far as debuffers go, the best one in the game, debatably, besides Piett, is Sabinas. Sabinas is what I recommend everybody gets. He's farmable. He doesn't require any kind of crazy materials. His awakening effects on his skills really aren't that amazing. They don't make him that much more overpowered. But Sabinas is one of those picks that everybody should have in their box, and they should max out his second skill. His Curse of Decay is energy based, so I recommend you put energy regeneration on him, as well as maybe a cooldown reduction or really whatever you want. But for the most part, Curse of Decay is what makes Sabinas Sabinas. 75% reduction to defense is really nice and will help you shred through anything with a very strong AoE. You pair Sabinas with a Luna, you pair Sabinas with something like a Da Vinci, you're going to melt waves. And what's great about any debuffing effects in general is they typically stack. So you can stack a Piett Curse and a Sabinas, and suddenly the entire wave is paper. If you can afford to do whatever the resource costs to cast the skill, then you're going to find that it's a lot easier to get through that wave. And you're going to wonder how that tank died so incredibly quickly. And the reason is a debuffer. You need to have a very strong debuffer in your team, even if you're not going to use it in PvP, and Guild Boss, or Challenge Tower, but you will find that you're going to end up using your debuffers in those as well. So having a very strong debuffer is going to help you tremendously, and the best one that you can start all of these out is the Sabinas. He's going to help you. You absolutely need to grind him out. So we've covered the debuffer slot. What else would you need? Well, you would need a buffer. If you curse or debuff or reduce armor on your enemies, you also want to buff positively your hero's own stats. And there are several characters that do this. Some are better than others. Some are amazing at what they do to buff their hero skills. They take a long time to farm out. So I'm real quickly going to touch on some of the better ones. One of the best ones, a good short-term and long-term pick, is Hamlin. Healers should have a nice secondary role of not only being able to heal, but being able to buff or accelerate the damage of your team. So Hamlin has not only a heal, but she also has a basic stats buff, which is going to make any wave die very quickly. If you can awaken her skill for Military Anthem, it adds an additional attack speed bonus, which is really good because if you have something like a Sabinas that curses an entire wave, as fast as you can auto attack actually does matter. How many auto attacks you can get in let's say a 10-second debuff does matter. So awakening Hamlin is usually a good idea long term. She's also amazing in Guild Boss and maybe a Challenge Tower, or I see her all the time in PvP. She's extremely flexible and worth using. Also for your healer slot, another good option is an Angelus. Angelus is really not that great. Personally, I have one maxed out, and it's one of my regrets. But Divine Judgment is pretty cool, and if you can reduce all the defense on your entire wave, you can then use Angelus to follow up and help nuke it down. If you have a heavy energy based team like I did for a very long time with a Luna, you can AoE with Luna and then your healer also becomes a source of damage, and that's what Angelus does. She has a strong nuke, so as long as you have the resources, that can be one way that a low-level player that just finished all his newbie quests and got his Angelus can help burst through some of these waves. A couple other very quick picks are Kurata. Kurata has a very nice attack steroid. It's going to increase all your heroes' attack by about 100% for 15 seconds, and that's really nice. He's a bit hard to skill up because he's a natural legendary, but chances are you will end up getting one at some point. When you awaken his skills, they become really crazy very quickly. So don't only think in terms of cursing or debuffing the wave, but think in terms of actually pushing your damage as high as it can for all your heroes, and Kurata is one way you can do that. Another hero that also buffs the amount of damage received on an enemy is Roxley. Roxley's really not that great of a 4-star Soul King, but hey, everybody gets him for free, so we might as well figure out a way to use him, right? Well, turns out his keen marksmanship is actually a pretty good skill. Even if you don't awaken it, it's still pretty good as it is right out of the box to increase the damage that everybody takes in addition to your debuffer like your Sabinas or your Piett. It can help you mow down waves very quickly, and it even works in PvP as well, so I can see potential here. So that kind of rounds up my picks for buffers and debuffers. These are the two main roles that you want to have on every team if possible. The next thing you need is a strong AoE. Luna is my favorite strong AoE in the game by far, and Da Vinci's probably my second one that I like the most. One thing that you'll see on some of my higher level videos especially is I will run tankless. It's not actually needed or required to have an actual tank if you can kill everything fast enough. And there are some certain situations where it's more beneficial. I've used my Leonard, which is completely maxed, as well as my Da Vinci as a makeshift tank. That way I can just peel through waves a lot quicker. So you've decided which debuffer you like, which is hopefully Sabinas, maybe Piett, maybe both, and you've been investing in these characters for a while. What can you do to make these characters better? What is the progression path of these? Well, first of all, it's a level, and then it's followed by evolution or how many stars they have, and then lastly it's followed by their promotion level. You should max all these out fairly quickly and fairly easily. The next thing you could consider doing is limit breaking something. Now, I recommend you do a lot of research on something you're considering investing that much time and money into to limit break something. It's a lot of gold and it's a lot of coup farming, but it's something, especially at late game or in game, that you're going to be glad you did. Limit breaking something like a Piett isn't going to maximize any more damage that you do to a wave. It's only going to increase her survivability as well as her amount of healing that she does to other characters. So my recommendation on what you do limit break is going to be any character that has either a skill that benefits or scales off the caster's level. An excellent example is Jeffrey, but Jeffrey's not really useful in this video. So what do you limit break? Well, I would limit break anything that sees a large DPS increase. I've limit broken my Luna, and I've limit broken my Da Vinci because they both have strong AoEs, especially when I auto farm overnight for ruby farming. It's extremely nice to have them be able to clear those waves out consistently. You also can consider limit breaking tanks. For instance, I've limit broken my Helios, and that's mainly for guild boss. However, it is very nice to have him high level so he can survive in other situations better. Besides limit breaking, one of the things you can also do, especially when you're lower level, is start to maximize your gear and enhance it. Now, there's always going to be a debate on what type of gear you should use on what type of heroes. You can try asking global chat and you'll probably get 5 different answers. But for the most part, I have found that cooldown reduction gear or the regen gear set and also rage gear works on just about anybody. Healers are the exception. Cooldown reduction gear is probably the best thing you could put on a healer because you want to be able to spam those skills over and over again quickly. And the final way that you can augment your hero's power even higher are skill ups. A lot of people ignore Skillups for some reason, and I don't really understand why they do that. Skillups, especially if they have really nice awakening effects, are going to help tremendously. If you decide to level a Sabinas, and you should go ahead and max that second skill out. First skill really doesn't do a whole lot, and that's your judgment call. Even if you decide not to do awakening effects, it is still worth maximizing most skills to 6 of 6. So let's talk about doing a hard tanky level. Right now I'm going to show some footage of 10-10, and Jules is the boss here. What makes Jules or any of the quote-quote bosses of adventure modes or even challenge tower is anytime they are a boss or they're gigantically large compared to everything else, they have a debuff reduction built into their kit, and it's usually approximately 50%. Then you have their added passives that may take it even lower. So this is really annoying because you want that debuff to land and stick on them as long as possible. This means not only in 10-10, but in also PvP, you need to line up or have enough skills that you can dump on something in a very short period of time. That way it dies or goes down very quickly. It's a horrible idea to hit, say, Sabinas' armor weakening ability and then just sit there and auto attack it for 10 seconds and then maybe use a skill after the debuff is worn off. What you want to do is you want to stall, hopefully kill everything but that annoying tank that's sitting there. Let it take a few hits, and then as it starts to get lower and your resources start to push up higher, then blow everything all at once for just one massive burst. To kill tanks like a Bell or like Jules, and to kill them quickly, you still need to be able to make sure that they don't have time, especially in PvP, to regenerate their health back quickly. So what you do to do this is animation chaining. Okay, this is where you want to have several skills lined up. Hopefully you have 5 energy and 5 mana ready to go. You're not going to cast them all one at a time, and you're not going to let the screen, when it goes dark, you're not going to let that lighten up at all. You're going to cast one after the other, after the other, after the other. Now what some people don't understand is, let's take Luna for example. She has 2 skills. She has Disturbing Shot and Hurricane Barrage. I can't use them, and I cannot chain Luna onto herself. So I have to use Disturbing Shot, then I would have to use another skill, and then I could chain back into Hurricane Barrage. This is because there's a natural internal cooldown in the game that does not allow you to just pair one skill to another and keep the screen dark and literally not allow any time to pass where the AI has time to react, or you have your Abel time to regenerate, a 16,000 heal. Animation chaining takes a lot of practice. It's not something that comes natural. You have to get a good feel of what your team is. You have to have a good feel of how long that animation takes. Some of the animations will literally play as the screen darkens for the entire period, but there are some skills like Da Vinci's Hot Missile where it launches in the air and then the screen will lighten again, and there is a travel or cast time to when it actually hits anything. So it's important, if you're going to do Hot Missile, you want to chain another skill while the Hot Missile is in flight so it hits, and again there's no time for reaction whatsoever. Animation chaining is one of the skills or talents that makes a good Soulking player and separates them from an amazing Soulking player. This takes a lot of practice, and it takes a lot of forethought. It takes a lot of feeling for each individual skill, so I recommend it's something you practice, even if it's on a simple level. Go into Challenge Tower and practice animation chaining, especially on a level that isn't that hard anymore. You can really get a good feel for how your skills work. Say you get a new Sabinas, maybe a Malsti or a Piett. You want to get a good feel of how long that animation is or how long it feels to you, and what you would need to do if you had full energy and mana. What order would you cast those skills in? Well, you would typically start with a curse or debuff effect first, and then if you do a second one, like Piett's curse, after you did Sabinas's armor weaken ability, then you can go back in and from there start to lay on your animation chaining for your AoE skills. I know the video was long. I hope this helped everybody. If you do some of the methods and think about some of the things that are in this video, I promise you will be looking at a 3-star legendary 10 of 10 clear at some point. It takes a lot of time, but these are all good skills, talents, and ideas and concepts for everybody to think about. As always, thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe if you want to see more of these. Please drop comments by. I welcome questions, however, this isn't a forum. I can't really respond to everything in great detail. And as always, if you have a specific topic of what to cover, or maybe a question that can spark an idea for this video, like how do I deal with Tanky levels, please leave it below. I really enjoy having feedback on these and future suggestions. Thank you, and I'll catch you later.